Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to today's conversation for Mindful Techie Tuesdays. I'm excited to have a new guest who's actually come back for more. So we enjoyed the conversation so much, and there was so much to talk about that she has graciously agreed to join us for another conversation. So as we get started today, we're going to be talking about playtime for adults. So for those that saw the last conversation or heard the last conversation, you remember that Tiffany and I had a wide range of conversation about the social and emotional well-being of kids. What does that mean in terms of screen time? What does that mean in terms of COVID and homeschooling? And so we're going to do a little bit of a recap, but we're going to spend most of the day focusing on adults. So what I need for you to do is to like this post, comment, add someone, tag someone that you think could benefit from this conversation, share it, call your mama, tell her to tune in, because it's going to be an exciting conversation. So with that being said, I want to bring on board Tiffany Grant McDuffie. I want to welcome you back to the show. Tell us, how have you been since the last time we've chatted?
Okay, well, I've been well. That's what we're supposed to say right now. I've had this crazy topsy-turvy COVID social unrest type of day, but we all have. So, in general, I'm still standing. I feel pretty awesome. Have had some really great things and opportunities come my way, even in the midst of all of the craziness that is going on. And so when you extended the invitation to talk about play, with my shirt somewhere.
Yes, we can. Yes.
So I'm always up for it and grateful to be here. So thank you so much for extending the platform once again.
Awesome. And for those that are new to you, can you just really briefly tell us who you are and how you got into the space?
Okay, so again, Tiffany Grant McDuffie. I am a mom. First of all, that's my main title, but a expert in social emotional health and wellness. For both children and adults. And my road to this space was very unconventional. I'm a CPA by trade, a serial entrepreneur by heart, and then I had just a ton of different experiences in finding my way, finding my path. So financial services, real estate, and I stumbled into the world of youth development. I run a youth sports camp out of Milwaukee called Purposeful Play. And in that space, we use social emotional intelligence to help children, dream big and then achieve those goals. In the midst of that work, I realized that there was a group of people who were really being left out of that conversation, myself included. All this work that we were doing to make sure our kids were happy. Even when you said, "Who am I?" the first thing I said was, "I'm a mom." And so I think a lot of busy, ambitious women lose themselves in their titles and to-dos and are really big, audacious goals and, all those things. And so I had to do a self-reflection and realize that, play or just finding joyful moments of spontaneous happiness was something that I was not booking into my calendar with all of the rest of those things. And literally that sparked a movement that we now call She Plays, and it is dedicated to helping busy, ambitious women kind of like snatch off their superwoman capes and straighten their crown. And, we are redefining what play really means. So no shade to the fellas. Y'all need also. The one thing that is really phenomenal about men is that they kind of know that, right? Like, and they just like, men are just like, this feels good. I'm going to go do this. And, they just do it. And women are just like, after all the important things are done. And so I'm not speaking holistically for anyone, but that's how I
Right.
in this space. And that's a little insight into me.
Well, awesome. Well, we appreciate that. We're glad to have you back, and we know that you have something new and exciting coming up called the International Women's Day of Play. So we're going to talk about that a little later on in the conversation. So just a little bit of a teaser for folks to stick around for that part of the conversation. But I want to kick us off by talking a little bit about the conversation that we had last time. So we talked about kids, and um, when we talked last time, I think for most folks, they probably weren't doing like full on homeschooling, and back to school wasn't in full swing. But now it is, right? So can you talk to us about what you're seeing with the parents and the children that you work with? And if there are one or two tips or strategies you can offer for folks to make this transition as it's sort of precarious. It's, we don't really have a lot of answers. Some people are going to school, some people are homeschooling, some people are doing a hybrid. Tell us what you're seeing and experiencing, and what advice you have for us.
So right now at Camp Play, we have a program we're calling Play University, where we have completely revamped the gym space. Like our basketball floor is like half classroom. There are desks that are 6 feet apart, helping kids get through their day, get through the e-learning. I've seen so many posts and received so many comments where parents are just like, it's day 2. They're just like, I'm over it. How am I supposed to work? Even if you have older kids, it's like, how do you keep them on track? Make sure they're doing it. Make sure they're not, sleeping at the computer, those sorts of things. And so it has been a hodgepodge of resilience building, right? That's what it's all about. And so as much as I've seen the complaints, no one's giving up. No one's quitting. We're in this thing and we're doing it. The one thing that I could say that I think this sounds, sometimes when I say things and they're cliche, I'm like, they're so corny, but it's so real. Like, give yourself some grace. Except now that it's not going to be perfect. Except now that it's not going to be just like school was. Accept all the tough stuff now so that you can just forge forward and give yourself some grace. Be nice to you like you would be nice to the next person in terms of all of it, because then you don't lose your patience with your children. You are not sitting up here chronically stressed out. You're able to provide some sense of calm in the chaos, even if it's, not perfect. It's, done is better than perfect. So that would be my first one. The second one is to like really, really, this is a time for people who are not naturally organized. I would be one of those, to like get into block calendar scheduling. Without it, you will lose sight of all boundaries. You will lose sight. You'll just be like reacting as opposed to being proactive. And one of the best things for all of our mental health is to just have a plan, even if we have to veer off of it. By having that plan, it sets an expectation for you, for your household, for your mates, for your children, as to what we expect. And if we have to vary, that's okay. But just having that scheduled out plan, making sure that you put yourself in that plan, as well, for some just personal me time is important. But just giving yourself grace and having a plan will save us tons of mental health in this time.
Well, awesome. So I appreciate that. And that's so succinct. And if I'm expanding on what you're sharing, I'm hearing you say, do your best and accept that, that it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. And that reminds me of something that the Canadian government reminds us, which is that we're not really working from home. We're not really homeschooling. We are at home during a crisis, trying to get schoolwork done and trying to get work done. And so when we accept that frame, it gives us a different way of really engaging with what's happening. And then the other thing I hear you saying is have a plan in terms of the calendaring, and include yourself in that plan. Include yourself in the plan to set aside time. So give yourself a block of time on the calendar as well.
Literally, it's the only way we're going to make it through. And I would almost say, as a busy mom myself, my time before I enacted this practice, it would always be that time was negotiable, or that time was at the end after everything else was done. You have to put that first. And people are like, well, how am I going to put it first? I got all this stuff to do. It is what, for me, rejuvenates me and gives me the energy to know that I can get all of the other stuff done, because I have put something in. Like, it's my little shiny thing. It's my little, for camp, we use sports as the shiny object to draw kids in. For She Plays, we use like these fun experiences to really dive deep into the issues that women are facing. And so in this time, that putting whatever you enjoy on that calendar and claiming that time is non-negotiable is really what will help you power through the rest of it. Because the next day, or however frequently you plan it. I plan mine daily, clearly. But however frequently you plan it, that is something that you can look forward to keep you, motivated and going.
Absolutely. And I absolutely, I love that. And I would add to that one of the things I share with my clients is to put those things first for yourself, because that's how you're going to fill up your cup. And you can't pour into others unless you are filled up. And so fill up yourself first. Now, you might be able to get away without doing that for a little bit, but at some point it's going to catch up with you. Absolutely. So I remind folks about that. And one last thing I would add to this before we transition to adults is I think it's important for folks to extend the same process to their kids, right? So have your kids understand that these are extraordinary circumstances, that do their best. It's not going to be perfect. And, let's have a plan. Let's try to stick that as best we can and make some time for you too, right? So make some time to disconnect from the devices and to disconnect from the homework and to disconnect from Zoom and whatever, and to just be. And we're gonna get through this. We're gonna be good.
Absolutely. And I think I talked about this on the last one, and I've said this to educators all, since we were debating whether we were going back to school or not. We forget that kids are people, and
Hmm.
so the same type of stresses and the same type of concerns and the same types of worries that we have, they have. And moms are notorious to be like, they don't pay no bills. What stress you really like? They are experiencing, and this will be in the history books. So even if you say like, yeah, this sucks, that you can't see your friends, but you're going to be in a history book, like you're part of history, and just make it an experience for them where they know that, like, we can all find stuff to complain about, even when the world was normal. But
Hmm.
now it's really important for us to be mindful, and to figure out what are we learning in this time, what is this time teaching us, how we can use it when things go back to normal, if that's ever going to be a thing.
Yes.
Just to know that, honestly, when you share it, sometimes people think these concepts are too big for kids, but they're not. And then when you share it, it's like it's a little bit of taking the burden just off of you and allowing it to be a household conversation, a household experience, and it's providing some comfort for everybody during this time.
I think that is absolutely on point and awesome. So I do want to transition us to the adults, but I want to do a little bit of level setting for this conversation. I wonder if we can back up a little bit, and can you talk about, from your perspective, what what is play, and what does that actually look like for adults? Like, can you give some concrete examples of what you mean when you say that?
So I absolutely mean, jumping in a double dutch rope at 43 years old. I certainly mean going for a swim, going to the gym, those sorts of things. But when I've opened it up to a wider realm of people, and say like, well, what does play mean to you? People always go to thinking about what they did when they were children. And I
Mhm.
don't know where this unspoken rule came from that, because we grew up, we didn't get to play anymore. Because we grew up, now play was a frivolous thing. So I think it's not, I think play in the dictionary, and maybe I've adjusted this to my own belief at this time, is just about spontaneous moments of joy, which
Mm.
means it's so broad. You might like playing the guitar, you might like day napping, you might like, getting your nails done, getting your
Yes, for nap time.
siesta is a real thing in other countries. You know what I mean? So you might like dancing, you might like skating, you might like, and so it's really not that play is the thing that we've outgrown. We're thinking about it wrong. And there's one of
Mm,
my favorite poems talks about people not being able to tell the distinction between their work and their play, their love and their labor, and how when you
mhm.
merge those two things, you feel like you're not working. And
Yeah.
so I think it's very connected with purpose and figuring out, those things that light you up. I have a friend who's a marketing guru, and she like, I would look at her and be like, "You're a workaholic," and she would look at me like, "You're a workaholic," but literally she loves it. She lives, eats, and breathes all the marketing ideas. When she sees them come to fruition, it's like it lights her. It's a spontaneous moment of joy. That is her play. And so I think
Mm,
it's very individual to each person. Now, me, I like music. I like swimming. I like dancing. I like traveling. I like eating, which you have to balance with your workouts, right? But
yes.
so all of those are different ways in which I play. With my daughters, we do yoga together, we get our nails done, we do, so I think it is really an individual thing about what sparks joy in you.
So how do we do this? Like, so you just mentioned that, lots of folks are, either caregivers for kids in this time or caregivers for other folks, perhaps relatives that are ill or older.
Mhm.
How do we actually make this happen?
I believe that it starts with mindset. And so Amanda Miller Littlejohn, I'm always giving her a shout out when I'm on here because
Mhm.
that's how I know you. But I went to a conference with her once and she had a therapist there. And I thought it was the most bizarre thing. And I'm just like, why is there a therapist in the room? This is 4 years ago, Tiffany. And so it was because it all starts with mindset. So like about your business, how to make your business grow, the mental blocks we have, the fears we have of failure, all those things. So I learned in a very short 2-day stint that like the therapist being there was the most impactful part of that for me. We learned tons of business stuff, but that was a game changer for my entire life, honestly. It's where She Plays propelled from. And so for the International Women's Day of Play, we have a therapist that's going to be in the building. And it's not like we're going to be in there getting therapy, but she's going to help us elevate our mindset to know that we have the right to do it, you know? And so I think that I've noticed two trends. One, affluent people know that they have a right to play. They get they play on. You know, like it's not. I'm in those rooms and I'm like, we need to play. We need to show. They're like, yes. And then I'm in rooms where there are people who are like chronically stressed, maybe essential workers or people who come from a lower socioeconomic background, and they're like, play. When could I have time to play? And those are the same people with the lifestyle diseases and the same people who are chronically stressed. So I think just recognizing universally, we all need to do it. Like, period. It is stress relief. It is joy. It is, if you're doing it in a physical way, it is keeping you healthy, physically healthy. There's a brain body connection between play, which we learn to, promote our programming with the kids to the schools to show that kids who, move their bodies do better. But that doesn't stop in childhood. There's a brain body connection for adults also. So I think how do we do that is recognizing it's a non-negotiable that needs to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought in the evidence, right? So it's not just like a selfish desire, right? It's that we've already established that it's a necessity for your well-being, but then there's also evidence that backs that up, right?
Science-based proof that says when your body is moving, they literally, ESPN even has, if you look at like the science behind sports, they'll show like a scan of the brain and how when you're running, different parts of your brain are lighting up and how those neutrons are firing off happy endorphins, and cortisol levels are lower, which decreases body fat, ladies, or stomach fat, ladies. Really a scientific connection to what I'm calling play to help us live happier, healthier, and wealthier lives.
Yes. So in light of the pandemic, the last time we talked, you talked about some innovative things you were doing to help kids continue to be able to play during COVID-19. And so I'm wondering if you can describe some of those things and how we can translate that to what we can do as adults right now.
Okay. So for the kids, we were doing things like, well, we're trying to get off screens, but definitely having like house parties where all of the cousins in my family were like getting together to do something together, be it a scavenger hunt, a trivia day, just some sort of connecting, because as humans, we need community. We need to connect. Even the most introverted people were like, I need a hug. And you like, for camp, we did things like to make sure that the kids were still just like incorporating some time, but like we had extra equipment and we had pool noodles to keep them 6 feet apart, but then they were able to use those things to play. Within the home though, it's just like realizing, I think when my kids were little, they had every toy there was, right? And what would they do? Go under my cabinet, break off the kid lock, pull out a pot and a spoon and just like bang on that. And you like, I spent $80 million on all these toys, and this is what you decide to play with. So I think just like helping kids realize that there is creativity and imagination. There's something genius about being bored and figuring out what to do and figuring out how to play. And just like inspiring that in them. It's easy to sit them in front of a TV. It's to sit them in front of a phone. Our kids are addicted to tablets and technology these days, but taking those things away and saying, now how will you play? And, it takes a little bit more work because parents are busy. So they're like, wait, they chilling and you want me to go get them up? Yes, because now it's not only, TikTok and Instagram, but it's also school is happening online. So I think those would be, if I were to say for kids, make them discover, like get introspective and discover some hobbies. If they can't come up with any on their own, talk to some friends and see what they're doing. And now, most people, especially with schools, some are even like operating in pods. So it's like, okay, we're not going to see the whole world, but get together with 2 or 3 moms who have kids the same age as you, who you're comfortable with what they've been doing in terms of social distancing, and then just get those kids together to creatively find ways to figure out what brings them joy and make that happen. That being said, for adults, I had one person tell me on a podcast a few weeks ago, I didn't get to play as a kid. I was forced to
Mm,
grow up too fast, so I don't even know where to begin. And
yeah.
so it was little things that, and I said, well, when you were little, what were other people doing that you wish that you could do too? I learned
Mm.
how to jump double dutch when I was like 40. It was ridiculous. I was so overjoyed. I could barely get in the rope. I mean, I'm just trying to get in the rope about 15. They're like, this time can go up for her. But just figuring out what did I miss and what would I like to do. I tried to join like gymnastics. I've never been able to hit a cartwheel. I'm scared to death, let's just say. But literally when I take my kids to gymnastics, I'm in there like getting a little bit of, okay, so how do you do that? So just acting your shoe size instead of your age. If you don't, we talked about like there was a lady on there who used to play basketball and she hadn't picked up a basketball in years. There was another lady on there who was like, well, what was your favorite childhood game? Jacks. She went and bought some jacks. If you like playing cards or solitary or if you like, I don't like any of that stuff. That doesn't sound like play to me. I like to binge watch Netflix, then just finding things that I guess are kind of more intentional. So if you like binge watching Netflix or you like binge watching like reality TV, find something different that's paired with a goal of yours and binge watch that. And
Yes.
again, I am a napping girl. I love a day nap. So rest is a self-care strategy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That we don't do enough of. So it's more about redefining what brings you spontaneous moments of joy and making it non-negotiable. That's my
So, does there need to be a balance between active and inactive? So, like, when you mention Netflix, I like the idea first of all of pairing. If you're going to do a passive activity like that, to pair it with something that's goal oriented.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if people are spending time sitting all day at their computer, sitting with their kids doing homework, should we be conscious of making sure that we're balancing out the passive versus the active types of play?
I think definitely. I am, anything can be going on in my life and I'm going to hit the gym. And it may be vain a little bit, but it also, I've seen really young people die early or have strokes early or have
Mhm,
heart disease, like just these lifestyle diseases that we get from these sedentary lifestyles. And then I've
mhm,
seen people who are like morbidly obese, like barely be able to function in life because there was just no commitment to physical activity. And they say
mhm,
like, if you can't, I think when they're talking about like the prices of like the healthy food versus the other stuff, but like if you can't afford to eat healthy or to live healthy, you'll pay for it later. So there's this balance of where you have to ensure that you have some sort of physical movement. If you don't, I am horrible at just going to get on the treadmill by myself. But if I put something good in my headphones, I can go walk the block. I can take the stairs instead of taking the elevator. I can, and if you're bored and you don't want to do it by yourself, trust me, your kids want to go do something. So you get to burn off your energy, burn off their future, your Fitbit goals or what have you. And so I definitely think there is balance. My friends would say I need more of the passive play. She always on the go. I look at her like, I can't even do it. But I know women who have like went and bought roller skates, bikes. You can't find a bicycle anywhere. So that's
Mhm.
one thing that's really cool about this time is that like, while I've been preaching this message since 2017, and people are just like, "Girl, she a kid. She play with those kids. That's what's wrong with her." And but now people are like out on their own. They're painting. They're buying adult coloring books. They're biking and doing things that they had left behind long ago because a quarantine and this pandemic has forced us to realize we need to have something to fill our time with. And so for me, this is like, I'm just like, I told y'all. So it's really exciting that people are really embracing it and that people are getting together and, even using technology and Zoom and that of the sorts to like get on and play games, to get on, and listen, just to laugh. Like we always write like LOL, but when you write it, did you really laugh out loud? Like when was the last time you really laughed out loud? And
Yeah.
figuring out what those things are. If you're gonna watch TV, watch a comedy show. Something that just like
That brings you that joy you were talking
you
about.
need it. You need
Yeah.
it because it builds resilience. It builds, if you have 4 bad days, but your good whatever that shiny thing is coming, you're gonna feel better about it. Or if you don't have that thing picked out, just try different things. I remember I'm stuffy, so forgive me guys.
All good. Yeah.
Um
All that play.
I remember Midwest, like Summer just left. She didn't say bye. She didn't do anything. She just left. Like Summer in Chicago she left. She just it's on the 31st now. See you next year. So, I don't know what's happening, but just I think we just got to figure out what makes us happy, and I think that recognizing that life isn't going to always be happy, quote unquote, that there's always going to be some sort of stressors, but baking in that non-negotiable time for physical movement, joyful experiences, and community is our way forward.
Yes, I'm in a complete alignment with that, and I also going back to what you were saying about the mentality around the age and the mindset. There are studies that show that folks that remain active even as they get older, they live longer
Literally.
and they're happier, right? So we put a lot of emphasis, particularly in the Western world, about living long, but don't you want to live a quality life as well?
Yeah.
You don't want to just be sitting in a hospital bed, do you? Or bedridden, or have to stay at home because you got bad hips and bad knees, can't do anything.
Really, on a very personal level, my maternal grandmother will be 90 years old on October 24th. A phenomenal
Mm,
milestone. She is bedridden. She broke her finger last year, and she just was not able to get through the therapy. And so, beautiful woman, huge personality, stuck in
mm,
the bed. Like we're 40 or 30, so we're not thinking about that, but stuck in the bed, and definitely a more sedentary lifestyle. Definitely like poor food choices, and I would tell her all this, so she'd be like, "Get out of here!" But you know what I mean. It's giving us a living picture that we can see what we're headed for, and hopefully we're taking that as a stance to correct some actions. Now, on the
yeah,
opposite side, my dad's mom is also she's not quite 90, but like until this pandemic hit, she was still getting on the city bus to go here and go there and do. So, like you just said, it's really about that quality of life and recognizing that how the things we do right now, from both a mental health, a physical health perspective, are really they our legacy will live to show what we did, and so just
yes,
pick wisely, go play.
yes. So speaking of, let's talk about this go play. So you've created a day for us to actually remember to go play.
I have.
So tell us about this. How did this start? How do we sign up? What do we do? Give us all the details.
So it's the International Women's Day of Play. It is happening on 10/10/2020. I feel like that's so buzzy, right? Like 10, like it's doubles. I have twin girls, so I'm loving all the double things. But then
Lot of zeros in there.
yeah, and so I think it's just like an ode to like that 2020 vision. Like we said at the beginning of this year, we had no idea all of this craziness was going to happen. Nobody could have paid us to believe that any of this was going to happen. So I think the day was really inspired out of every adversity we have faced this year, and the many hats that women wear and are almost needing a mandate to go play, like
Yeah.
go find joy. And so, Amanda, again, I'm a part of one of her masterminds, and there was someone who did a big breast cancer event, and she had these gift boxes, and these women all came, and I was just like, we just need to play. I'm so grateful that the women can come in here and they can play because they've had this huge adversity in their life and that they're showing their power and overcoming cancer and all of that. But I was like, we need to play just because. We're always
Mm,
playing to celebrate what we've overcome. we deserve to do this just because. And
Yes.
so we're almost like October, either September or October makes us like halfway to International Women's Day. And
Yeah,
I'm
which is in March, right?
like, look, we can't wait 6
Yeah.
months. We can't wait. We need to be celebrated now. And so my best friend lives in Australia. So it was originally just the women's play day. And then my best friend lives in Australia.
Like we want to play too.
Right. And then, what time is it going to be? Because their time zone is so different. And then one of our speakers, Amber Cabral, is going to be in Mexico when we broadcast. My fulfillment team that is doing our boxes is out of Canada. So I was like, this is global. We need an International Women's Day. So, the day is really dedicated to helping busy, ambitious women refill their cup. We start with physical movement, so we'll have yoga and jump rope sessions. The person for yoga is out of Milwaukee. The jump rope person is in LA. And then I'm going to come on and talk about the entire mission and the thoughts behind She Plays and why women deserve to play. And then we have a therapist. We have a money guru who's going to come on and talk about side hustles and how she made the most money she has during COVID, and how, just like opportunities are endless, opportunities for joy are endless. We can be wealthy financially, physically, and emotionally. And one without the other, we are just totally off kilter, and it needs to, we need a day to celebrate ourselves. We need a day where we can put on the calendar, because we won't do it ourselves. So Tiffany has put it on your calendar that
Yeah.
on 10/10/2020, we are going to play. I'll actually be broadcasting from LA. So we'll have people literally all over the nation and then across several countries that are coming to just say, we deserve this. We need this. If you don't know how, here's your start. If you don't know with who, here's your community. There's no excuse. There's no
Yes.
excuse. There's a ticket price. I think the tickets are priced at $97, but there's a discount for if there's 2 people. If you come with a bestie, I think it's called a bestie bundle. Then there's a further discount if you come with 5 people. But literally, we're going to be doing a contest for the rest of, I think, this week and next week, where we're giving away spaces. So it's like there's no excuse. Like,
Yes.
come and play. And I think right before the end, once the boxes are all gone, because we only had 100 boxes, and I think we're probably like 60% through those, that people will be able to just join in without a box, because really the event is making nothing. It's just paying for the box, so that the box actually like complements each session. So there's a jump rope for the jump rope session. Like, there's no excuse. We gave you no excuse. So whatever you thought the only thing you have to overcome is that you deserve to do it, that you should do it, and that it's going to add some joy to your life that will help you do all the other things. So they can find it, Women's Day of Play. It's right on the screen at www.womensplayday.com, womensplayday.com. Go there and learn more, explore our speakers, leave a comment, sponsor. It's still not too late for that. You can't do the day, but you know a woman who certainly needs to do that, then buy a ticket and gift it. It's just all about raising our resilience, our happiness, our joy factor. We're all facing something, and
Yes. And so I love this, and I love that you're doing it, and the reason is just because. Like, just because.
you deserve it.
Yeah. And I think we have to, particularly for women that I work with, I find that it's harder for women to accept that they're deserving just because. Like, there has to be like some monumental thing they feel like they have accomplished in order to feel good about that. I see this also with just change makers. So folks that are doing change making work or purpose driven work, they feel like they have to like somehow, jump over this huge hurdle in order to be worthy and deserving of it. Do you see that with the folks
I
you work?
so much. It's like we have to earn it. No, it's your God-given right. You don't have to earn it. I was her. I mean, and so that, people are like, you're always happy. This is why you get to do it. I was her. I was on the brink of, I had it all. Like, people say, oh, she's married and she has 3. I was married with 3 children who were beautiful enough that they get paid because they were cute. So they were kid models, and I owned a business. I had got broken free from the corporate world, and I don't know, whatever other check boxes you check off. She's graduated from school. She's a CPA. Now she owns her own business, and she's married. She has 3 kids. They're so cute. Like, all these check marks. And then when I got to Amanda's event, like when I walked in, she was just like, everyone's gonna cry. And I was looking probably how people look at me. What's wrong with them? I'm talking about like we boss babes. We came here to get our together. Like we cry for what? And by the time Risha finished talking and we were just like talking about, I think, what cultivated our purpose and how our purpose was directly tied to something in our childhood and our greatest, like something around like whatever our greatest fear is, both propelled us to our greatness and it was just super aligned. And so my personal one was, people, not my mom, because she's always been my biggest cheerleader, but other people would say, like trusted adults who should have known better would say like what I wasn't going to be or what I wouldn't accomplish. That for me, I was like, oh, I'm going to show them. So that's, I checked all these boxes. Look at me. I did it. Haha. But then also when she talked about what was our greatest fear, and this is the part that like made me cry. I can't believe I cried. But she so what is your greatest fear in that regard? And I was like, that they're right. Like that was such an aha moment for me. Like, what if they're right? Like, what if I fail? Like, what if I don't accomplish all the things? And I would think subconsciously until that day, I did not recognize how much pressure I was putting on myself. So when you talk about the women who feel like they have to earn it, it's like we set these like world given expectations on what we need to accomplish in order to earn the right to play. Like, no. And so it was funny because there I sat as a woman who had an entire organization called Purposeful Play and, set to empower children, support families, and build community using the power of play. So I spent my life making all of these experiences that brought people joy. And I was sad. And I was guilty for being sad. I was just like, wow. You be sad. You checked all the boxes. You have all the things. You're sad. You're ungrateful. No, I wasn't. I was just sad, and what was I not doing? I wasn't putting myself at the top of the to-do list. I had lost myself in my titles and to-dos. I wasn't looking for things that brought me joy because I was so busy checking the boxes. Yes. And on that day, I always tell Amanda, you helped my business, but you changed my life. Like She Plays was born. I came back home and life was never the same. And I've been playing since.
Awesome. I love it. I've been playing since. So what's next after International Women's Day of Play? What other programs do you have coming up? Are you going to writing a book about this? Hint, hint. Like, let us know what are you thinking about? What's coming up next?
So there actually is a book being written right now. It keeps evolving. So it's called She Plays to Win in life and business, and so it addresses like the totality of this play thing. Because it's actually an acronym. It stands for possesses purpose, love, ambition, youthfulness. It's a mouthful, and slays. So a part of me was like, well, what do I want? A therapist actually asked me, what do you want, Tiffany? And my answers were like, well, I want my kids to be such and such. She's like, no, what do you want? And I was like, well, I want my husband to be, what do you want? She's like, girl, are you getting, and I didn't get it because I was so wrapped up, and I'm not calling people my titles and to-dos, but literally I was so wrapped up in, I want my kids to have this. I want my husband to have this. I want my business to have this. And then I'll be happier, And so she's like, no, what do you want? And I had watched a T.D. Jakes sermon, which was random. And he talked about how we as entrepreneurs make our journeys more difficult. He said, how many people have an iPhone? And then I think maybe iPods were still out there. You have an iPod, you have an iPhone, you have a iPad, you have a MacBook. He said, how many of you know you bought the same thing 4 times? And I just said, whoa. He said, so he talked about his books. He said, Woman Thou Art Loosed was a stage play, then it was a book, then it was a stage play, then I turned it into a movie. Like, you don't have to keep recreating the wheel. So I had purposeful play, and so I was trying to figure out, what did I want, to be able to really answer that question. What did I want? And what I want is to always be able to walk in my purpose, to practice relentless self-love. So that's the L.
Yes.
Love. To be ridiculously ambitious, because I like being a businesswoman. It's not that I wanted to put my work down. I enjoy that part of me, but it was consuming so much of me. to be youthful, meaning I want to act like I want to go dance. I like, people like, you still go to the club? Well, I go to day parties because I'm 43 now, but I like day and a good mimosa, and I feel good about saying that. There was a time when I would have been like, you shouldn't be doing that. You're a mom now. You're a wife. And I'm like, I just like music and mimosas. That's okay. You can still have it. Kind of like that youthfulness piece. And then Slaves really did start off as like a physical outward appearance, because women will also, like you get married, you gain weight, or your hair's not done, or your nails aren't done, or you're just looking dusty because you're just doing all the things. But it has truly just matriculated into more of a mindset thing where you slay everything you touch. When you walk in your purpose and you practice self-love and you follow your ambitions and you're youthful, you can slay anything. And the thing is, like, when we set these, our New Year's resolutions or goals, or what, for the people who don't like resolutions, they just call them goals. It's the same thing, but whatever name makes you feel good about it. When we set those things, I'm an accountant, so I created this quadrant, and it's like purpose is in the middle, and then there's love, ambition, youthfulness. I'm messing up the letters, but you guys know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Every goal that any woman that has been a client of mine has talked about falls into one of those buckets. I want to lose weight, self-love. I want to climb the corporate ladder, ambition. I want to have a girls' night, youthfulness. I want to, like the methodology is there. So the book is forthcoming. There's a podcast that's been in production for eons. I'm walking past my fear, so it will be out before the end of the year. But right after the International Women's Day of Play, we're going to create I don't call it membership of sorts, but like a community. I don't know if we're going to call it the playhouse, the play space, the play something, because all the things have to be with play according to TD Jakes. I can't do new stuff. So, so we're going to create a membership portal for women to just come together as a community where they can connect, share resources, tools, and I'll throw some master classes in there very, intentionally, so that cross every spectrum of this acronym, and if they just get more self-love, hallelujah. If they just get more, ambition, hallelujah. Whatever they need to fill that cup that you're talking about, I'm hoping that this can be a safe space where we can commune, where we can talk about common issues, but where we can also meet them with strategies to make it happen. Like, we're not coming just to complain. We're going to put it out there, our needs, and we're going to fulfill those needs. So that's what's next.
Well, awesome. Well, I am super excited for you, and I'm excited that you were able to come here. I think, are we first to hear about this?
You are. You are.
So we're excited to have you come back on to share with the community. I'm excited to be able to amplify this. I think it's so important, especially right now. I work with folks that are on the brink of burnout, have burned out, are trying to do it all and have it all. They're juggling all the things, and they're not making time for themselves. So this is so aligned and is so what people I think need right now. And for the men out there, if you're feeling left out, you can do your own thing. Tag me, message me. We can figure out something. But what I'm appreciating is sort of the broader concept and the broader vision and intention behind what you're creating. I think it's so beautiful. It's so needed. And to have a woman of color actually being the face of this, I think is even more important. So thank you for that. So as we wrap up, is there anything else you want to leave just a nugget of wisdom you want to leave our audience with?
So two things. So first, fellas, we are not completely leaving you out. It's just that this initiative, this one part of the program is for women. We host things in the corporate setting, and we host like co-ed events all the time, because women don't want to play without y'all all the time. We just need to. We come out of this being better mothers, better wives, better mates, better employees or bosses. So if there's a woman in your life, you still benefit from this indirectly. You know what I mean? Like, so we definitely need men who appreciate the effort as our advocates, because all men don't. We talked before that we came on here about the lawmaker who was on the, passing a law with her baby in tow. And so there are some men who know that was absolutely ridiculous. And, so we need y'all. We're not leaving you out. We need y'all to set the example and lead the way. Honestly, in most households, if women look at their husbands as as the example for how to, like, men will just grab their basketball bag and they out to the gym. oh, the house on fire. Okay, baby, put it out. Like so we can learn from the example that you guys set. But secondly, I would just say to make it a lifestyle, like not just for your birthday, not just when someone overcomes cancer, not just when kills yourself to get this newest degree, the third degree, the third PhD, like not when you have earned it. You've already earned it. You deserve it. It is your birthright. Make it happen. Go play.
Awesome. I love it. And thank you for sharing that. So, how can we stay in touch? How can we learn more about you beyond just the International Day for Women's Play? How can we stay in contact?
So I am on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as She Plays Co. So like company, She Plays Co. And then Tiffany Yvonne on every other platform that exists out there. So my first and middle name. Yeah, that's where you'll find me. She Plays Co. on all social things.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for coming back. We appreciate it. And maybe afterwards, you have to tell us like how well it went and what's next. Maybe when the book comes out, you can come back and we can help you get the word out about the book. So for those that are tuning in, I want to thank you for tuning in. And again, I want to invite you to love on this post, tag somebody, put a comment in the comments, and let us know what you thought. Give us your questions, and go to the sign up page for October 10th for the Day of Play for Women and sign up. Right. So, and if it's not right for you, buy a ticket for someone else. I'm sure they would love you and appreciate you for that. And let's hold the space that this just goes viral. All right. So, yes. So thank you all. And I look forward to seeing you for the next conversation.
Thank you.